My name is Rhapsody and welcome to Curse of the Dead Gods. Curse of the Dead Gods is an action roguelite from Passtech Games wherein you must survive stacking corruption and the aforementioned curses of the also aforementioned Dead Gods. I'd like to begin this video by saying thank you to Focus Home Interactive for sponsoring this series. I'll start out by going through the tutorial before hopping over to the Serpent Temple, the latest free update for the game, which just released on Steam and can be bought from the link at the top of the description, and is also 20% off until July 9th. So here begins our intrepid adventurer entering the temple. I will note, the tutorial takes place in the Jaguar Temple, not the Serpent Temple. So I'm going to go through the tutorial elements in the Jaguar Temple, then I will intentionally die so that I may go back out into the main menu and then go to the Serpent Temple thereafter. On first death, as with many roguelites, then you get introduced to the kind of meta progression of the game, as well as your ability to choose different options of different dungeons and such. Alright. I was actually really keen to get into Curse of the Dead Gods at the time that it came out, but I was running a bunch of other series at the time and I didn't really have the ability to, so I'm very glad for the opportunity now to get to it. Equip your torch. The torch illuminates your surroundings and can set flammable objects on fire. You can see in the bottom left all of the weapons that we have. A is our torch. X, I will be playing with this controller as well, is our sword. And then we have a ranged attack on Y. You can also see across from that stats. The stats will affect our damage, gold find, and actually, can we see the other stat effects? Yes. Max health, damage, and gold find. You can see directly below where the character portrait is. Here's the main hub room, but of course, our first tutorial must take us into the Jaguar Temple. So we'll just interact with the wall, become cursed. You can see our arm is flooded with cursed energy here. A core mechanic of this game is that the corruption that stacks on you that causes curses is inevitable. It will happen. It happens as you enter a floor. So you can see here, I'm going to go to, obviously, here's the area map. At the very top, we have the champion, which is going to be the boss for this dungeon. I can choose to go to a stats or a gold area. I'm going to go to a gold area. The stats areas and above the weapon areas and relic areas require you to pay money in order to get those or to gain corruption. So you can use stacking extra corruption on yourself as a resource. But for the moment, I'm going to start out with trying to get some gold in order to purchase them naturally. So you can see up there in the top left, basic moves and stamina. Dodge quickly to evade attacks. So if you roll, you have iframes. So you can use that to dodge attacks like that. Alright, and then there's also chain melee attacks until you trigger a finisher. We can watch that happen now. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth hit is the finisher with the sword. And then the, Whispering Aegis. Secondary weapon of a shield. Okay, we won't change to that just yet because it will invalidate the next tutorial point, which is ranged attacks consume stamina. So we'll use just a couple ranged attacks here to demonstrate it. The stamina is those little pips below my character. So it replenishes over time, but it also replenishes with certain actions, such as if I perfectly parried an enemy, it would replenish. Also, if I perfectly dodge an enemy. So that's if I use the roll to dodge an enemy, but I do it at the absolute last available second to do so. Alright, Whispering Aegis, secondary weapon of shield, has a 25% chance to automatically trigger a parry, and offhand combos deal critical damage. Offhand combos we'll explore in a little bit, but just as a primer, is to use your secondary weapon instead of your main weapon to trigger the finisher after a combo. 2, 3. So, normal sword combo, offhand combo. Let's try and see what that does with the Whispering Aegis. 1, 2, 3. Oh, cool. It was like a little bit of a shield bash. But yes, this is the Jaguar Temple, so I am going to intentionally kill my character here in order to get back out into the temple selection and then go into the Serpent Temple. Come on, shoot me. Ooh. I mean, I'm addicted to loot, even if I'm going to be dying. Provides passive illumination. Oh, hell yes. Oh, no. All of the things that can deal damage to us in this area are already dead. Okay, let's go to a weapon room then. You can also see, as we go to the weapon room, have a look at our character. 20 corruption. The 3 dots that just showed up are the symbol for corruption. So we just picked up 20 corruption there. Come on, and... get him. Oh, yeah, that's just the automatically triggered parries going off there. You can see that the enemy is weakened when it happens. The weakened symbol being the armor break symbol that appears above their head. We can actually use this as an opportunity to introduce another mechanic as well, which is greed kills. If you kill enemies within a certain period of time of one another, you can keep the timer running if you deal damage. But if you kill enemies within a certain period of time of one another, then you have the ability to stack your greed kills, which effectively just means that you are going to get more gold as you do those kills. This weapon automatically parrying 25% of hits is actually making it a little bit hard to die here. There are some enemies, again, this is another element we can point out at this point. There are some enemies who have attacks that will actually curse you, or rather will give you corruption. The corruption, if it stacks above 100, as you can see in the bottom right, disappears. But as soon as I leave this room, I am going to gain a curse. You can see the blinking corruption icon, one of the 5 above the corruption bar down there in the bottom left. If I left this room, I would gain a curse. We'll see that active a little bit later on. All right, I'll step on the spikes, and there we go. Oops. Accidentally died in the tutorial. Whoops, what a clumsy me. However, that'll boot us back out into this room, which is now our hub. And we can access one of the meta progression things, which is going to be blessings. We only have access to 1 blessing slot at the moment, so I better fill it with something. I do not have the ability to afford any of these blessings. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, if I'd gone through the tutorial naturally, I might have ended up with a couple more. So instead of going back into the Jaguar Temple, we're going to go into the Serpent Temple, which is, again, the latest DLC for this game. Jump in. Okay. So I usually like to start out by trying to get a decent amount of gold so that I can start purchasing things rather than actually having to use corruption in order to purchase things. And I also want to try and find a haven later on just before I go to the champion. So a haven, as you might imagine, is the medic cross, right? The medic cross with a couple symbols around it. I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to start ascending through the gold and cut over to the left to get to the weapons before ending up on the far left to use that path to actually get back up to the champion. Looks good to me. We gain our 20 corruption for entering the dungeon, and here we go. I don't know if the Serpent Temple has as many hidden rooms as the Jaguar Temple, but I know that it is full of new traps, new enemies, new champions, new final bosses, new everything, oh my. Ah, excellent. So the tutorial continues in this dungeon. Advanced combat moves, hold your melee weapon attack and then release it to launch a charged attack, as you might expect. Ranged weapons can trigger perfect shots if charged and released at the perfect time. So that's when it flashes. And you can perform a secondary weapon attack after a series of main weapon attacks to trigger an offhand combo. This is the one that I demonstrated in the previous dungeon. There we go. Cool. And then I'll also do that just to get the tutorial messages to disappear. Let's quickly light up this room. Totally missed that trap on the wall and just immediately took damage to it. Dang it. Dang it, indeed. Let's pick up the relic that dropped on the ground. Plus 15% damage against weakened enemies. Okay, so we don't... I mean, we do have the ability to weaken enemies, but we can only weaken enemies at the moment by parrying them. So if we can find another way to weaken enemies, that is going to make that relic much more useful. Just tag these lights back on so it's a little bit easier to explore around this room and find the gold. Oop. Okay, entered a new room, and now we're locked in here. Just gonna get that mine to go up there. Now, I've got to make sure that I actually give myself some time to manage my stamina by running away for a moment. Because I get really, really greedy in games like this. And especially if there's a mechanic called greed kills. Oh god, you best believe I'm going to try and utilize that and die in doing so. So a good lesson that I taught myself, there's some poison in that area, so I have to take a little bit of damage in order to get here. Gain 50% of damage taken in gold. Thank you, Jaguar Mask. Excellent extra relic for us there. But I'm going to have to try and fight my instinct to just constantly battle. Because if I do so, then I'm going to die. Just going to happen. Alright. Let's burn those before they get us too bad. They got us pretty bad, though. The tracking on those is not necessarily super good. So you'll look at... Just walk through, and you can see it started to hit the location that I was coming from rather than where I was continuing to. Which means the most dangerous way to approach these is head on. So what am I doing? Well, I'm just approaching him head on, constantly. Right. So part of the stamina management system is that finishers cost you a stamina to do, as well as being your strongest attack. So as a result of that, I'm gonna have to try and fight the urge to use the roll as a gap closer, because if I use it as a gap closer, I will get very close to the enemies and then I will have no stamina and they will whoop the absolute heck out of me. A lot of the attacks that would, at least, give you curse show that they would give you curse, thankfully. So you can see that area of attack effect on the grounds, show the curse symbol, so that... I keep saying the word curse rather than the word corruption. I mean corruption. But if I was hit by that, I would be corrupted, and that corruption would contribute towards us getting a curse later. Alright. End of the dungeon, we get just a little bit of money, as well as the Seeker's Mace. Main weapon mace, plus 2% damage per level of relics carried. So let's have a look at our inventory. We have 2 different relics carried. And both of them are level 1, so I imagine this is only getting a plus 2% damage to its, plus 2% to its base damage, rather. That said, it's a non-default weapon, so it's still probably better than our default. Awesome. Alright, let's continue on. So we've entered 2 rooms so far, and we've only got 40 corruption, which means we've not been hit by any corruption attacks. Oh, this weapon is so slow. Oh, I want my sword back. Ooh, but it also seems to stagger enemies quite heavily. Unfortunately, that enemy is taken to ground. No, dang it. Got hit by the little bug there. Okay, so it seems like that enemy's whole thing is that it will turtle up. Ooh, plus 200% to the Greek kill time limit. Thank you. That's exactly the kind of relic that I need. But it seems like that enemy will turtle up after you do a certain amount of damage to it and then summons a little poison bug. Oh. I see gold in this room. I'm a simple man. I must have the gold. No matter how much damage. Oh, God, no. No, the gold! Dang it. Okay, it seems like the whole difficulty of that room was trying to collect the golds without being damaged by all the traps. No, get him. Should actually probably use some of these ranged attacks here. They're really, really good for keeping the greed kill timer alive. Because obviously you can do them from afar while you're trying to get your stamina back. Perfect. Okay, we're starting to get a little bit faster reflexes on the dodging of those traps there. Good to see. Damn, this room is real long. Like, this is the only the second room so far. I say room, it's like a node on the map. I usually call them rooms or sometimes floors, but it's weird because like they're floors in Gungeon. That is to say, like, levels are floors in Gungeon, but nodes on the map are floors in STS. And Some games call things artifacts or relics or trinkets, or some of them have different ways of proposing each of those. So I'm going to try and actually adjust to the one that is used by this game. I don't know what the individual areas are actually called, though. I'm just going to say area. How about that? Seems useful enough. Because there are individual rooms. Oh, you got me. Because there are individual rooms in the area. Okay, that was a late enough dodge to be a perfect dodge, which gave us a stamina back. And again. Alright, good. Our reward for all of that is a two-handed bow. So this is our secondary weapon. Our two-handed weapon. You can have a main weapon, a secondary weapon, and a two-handed weapon. This is our two-handed weapon. We don't have a default two-handed weapon. Kills increase movement speed for 5 seconds, so... Okay, cool. That should be effectively like a much better bow, much better pistol for us right now. Cut over to some more gold. We should have the ability to buy something pretty schmick with all of this money. It's also worth noting that some of these areas can include the money themselves in little pots, so got to make sure that I actually check those. You can visually tell the pots that it's included in, which, God, I love that as a feature, because sometimes games don't have that, and you have to kill every individual pot in every area if you want to try and have the best chance at buying things. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes I can find that a little tedious. Just got to tag them occasionally with a hit. So the greed kill counter continues. Oh, greed kill counter. Should continue even longer. I didn't know there were more enemies in this room. There's another reward, though. Lamat Grape Shot Revolver. Perfect shots deal damage to all targets in a cone behind impact. It's the same as our current weapon, except it has a better effect. Might as well take it. Okay. So that's gonna enter a new room in this area. Getting used to that nomenclature. Oh, dang it. Okay, and we entered a new room in this area anyway by going over to the left. Thought this was gonna be a case of there's a little more to explore in this room. Out of the way of... He's about to hit me there. I haven't really parried... There we go. I was about to say, I haven't really parried an enemy yet. Well, myself. Obviously. Our auto parry shield before had parried some enemies, but I hadn't parried enemies myself. Actually, hang on. Does this link back to exactly... Yeah, this links back to where the previous one would have. So I think I just gave myself an extra womb's worth of combat there. Interesting. Awesome. +3 to Constitution. That is going to contribute towards our max health. Constitution goes towards max health. Dex goes towards your damage. Oops. And then I'm pretty sure it's Perception towards Gold Find? I say that with a question mark, but I am almost entirely certain of that. Okay. So you can see we're suffering a little, but we've only got 2 more different areas we're going to have to go to before we can go up to that, the medic over on the left. The Haven. Havens are a really interesting mechanic in this game as well, because you do get health at them, but you get it in trade for picking up more corruption. Don't want to be standing in the poison, but I do want to eliminate these just to make my life a little easier. No! I saw that attack was about to connect and tried to roll out of the way in time, but unfortunately I'd left myself without any stamina because I used my roll as a gap closer. I even said it earlier that I specifically didn't want to do that for that reason, and then I did it anyway. Yeah, because these have ranged attacks and area of effect attacks, it's like really, really important I focus a couple of them down really quick here. Make life much easier. Dang it! Oh, I destroyed my own light source. Okay. Got him. And you'll even poison the hermit. Great. So I don't really have good names for any of the enemies in this area, and I don't know if there is a bestiary, or if there is, I haven't unlocked it. So as a result, I think I'm just gonna have to give them names. And these enemies with the humpback that summon the poison bugs, I'm thinking I'm gonna call them pilgrims, because they kind of look like the pilgrims of Londor from Dark Souls 3. Awesome. With that giant stone that they have to carry around. I was about to say Yol is Bay, but then I was like, wait a second. I didn't go down Yol's storyline when I played Dark Souls 3, but pretty sure that's not entirely accurate. Okay. We got 3 options of weapon here. Sidewinder Sword. Finishers cost no stamina, and also restores plus 1% of your max health for each enemy killed. With 1,000 max health, that's pretty significant. That's 10 health per enemy kill. We've got the Seeker's Mace, which is the same as the one that we're currently holding, but also has plus 20% base damage if the secondary weapon is a shield, and attacks for 30% more from behind. And then the final, so that's, both of those are main weapons, but the final is a replacement for our two-handed weapon, Feathered Spear. Each kill restores 1 more stamina, and you remove a corruption for each enemy killed, you restore health for each enemy killed, and there's a 20% chance to inflict poison damage. So the options go, you know, weenie option, medium option, great option, but obviously, as you can see, they cost more as they go across. The gold cost is the first one, the second cost is the corruption. So if I wanted to gain this one without paying for it, I could pay corruption, specifically 20 corruption, in order to pick it up. I'm going to pay gold in order to get the Feathered Spear. Excellent. That's the Swift Row dropped on the ground. Great. So here's the Feathered Spear. That's actually got, like, a really fast attack for a spear. Well, a really fast attack for a two-handed weapon. Spears, I understand, are usually quite quick. So now we've actually hit a threshold of 100 corruption, and we'll pick up our first curse, Deadly Obsession. You are most deadly when near your final breath. Keep your enemies in sight. They'll feed your resolve. Our maximum stamina is reduced by 1, but killing an enemy with any weapon restores 2 stamina points instead of 1. Uh-oh. This is gonna make me play even more aggressive. And that's already the risk that I'm gonna play too aggressive and die as a result. Well, look. I have the justification of saying the game basically told me to do it. What do you mean that's not a good enough justification? Nope. Whoa, dude. It is so much more important than it was a couple moments ago to not use my roll. Wait, did it die before I got hit? I think it did. It's even more important than before to not use my roll as gap closer because I have way less stamina. Yes, it's 1 less stamina point, but it's also 20% less stamina. Right? Like, it matters a lot. Okay, almost got hit by that corruption attack. I really don't like getting hit by corruption attacks because at this point in my Curse of the Dead Gods career, I don't really know how to deal with being way too cursed. I imagine this is going to be a similar situation where, like, once you're really good at the game and you know how to handle having all of the curses, well then go absolutely buck wild, get cursed as hell. Because it does have benefits as well. A lot of the curses are, you know, negative in one way and positive in another. an example would be this one, right? There we go. Cool. No! Think that's okay, right? There we go. We got the greed kill. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. We were keeping the greed timer alive that entire time, which is what I was worried about. But yes, like this one, obviously, we have one less max. Stamina, that is. Ooh. Okay, that's definitely a secret room past there. Just how do I enter it? Okay, I can't get the plants to slap it. Alright, I might have needed to keep one of the enemies alive and get them to attack it. Yeah. A lot of the entry for secret rooms is based around getting your enemies to attack certain walls for you. Unfortunately, I killed them before I realized there was one. But yes, obviously we have one less max stamina, but we gain 2 stamina per kill. Okay. 5% of critical damage also heals you. There's also heal 2% of max health whenever an enemy is killed by the environment. That also gives me +3 dex. +3 dex is not something to turn your nose up at. Dex is the max damage stat. Plus 45% damage to fire attacks. Okay, I'm gonna go with the torture ring, and I'm also just gonna manually pay for it. Awesome. All looks good to me. Let's get out of the dungeon. Okay, so now you can actually see the tag for it. That's the haven there that we're gonna be going to. The first area is, the first episode, rather, of this series is going to be much more tutorialized than the rest of them, so if you are more familiar with this game, I'll see you in episode 2! Alright. Yeah, let's get a little bit more health. Actually, you know what? We're, what, 2 spaces? I think I'm actually going to heal up to full. Yeah. And we'll leave. Awesome. Let's... Yeah, we don't know what this area is supposed to be, so we don't know what the reward is going to be. I mean, I see gold up here, but I'm worried about... Okay, there we go. Yeah, gold is just... It's the cheese on the mousetrap, and it'll get me every single time. I would be an awful mouse. By which I mean I would be a mouse for approximately 6 days, maybe. If it took me 6 days to find a mousetrap. If it took me 1 day to find a mousetrap, then I'm gonna be a mouse for 1 day. Okay, there are a lot of traps near the middle of this map, so I'm gonna have to be very, very careful. Okay. Good goods. But I do want to keep the grid timer up. What the? Okay, you've got a long sweep as well as you track me for a while. So that's something that, per enemy, I'm gonna have to get used to. Is how well they track. Because I mentioned it earlier, but the trees don't track you, like, basically at all. But that enemy was really, like, tracking hard. No matter where I moved, they were gonna hit me unless I rolled away. Okay. Sometimes these scenic walks are interrupted with traps, but they seem to be common. Not common, sorry, like they seem to be in a pattern. One sec. Malicious dagger. Sorry, malicious skewer. It's a secondary weapon that's a dagger and deals critical damage against weakened enemies. I'm not weakening my enemies constantly here. I don't even know if I would be able to parry that attack. I'm kind of keen to try and find out. Yeah, because the rolling away, specifically rolling in the direction of the enemy's attack, is not working for me, so I might as well try something else. But obviously that is going to be the journey of the first couple episodes of this series, as we learn the different things that different enemies can do and how to combat them. Okay, so Tamloc's gift is plus 250 max health, or we can get Sishar's gift, plus 25% gold gain. I don't think we're going to go for the gold gain, because that doesn't really matter at all to us right now. So I'm going to get the extra health. The reason the gold gain doesn't matter is because the dungeon has exactly 2 more spaces. So I don't really have much time to get much more gold and then spend much more gold. I'm also specifically using my two-handed weapon almost all of the time just because of the rewards that it gives us in terms of max HP as well as in terms of reducing our corruption. Whoa! Ah, okay. It's roll into their attack. Got it. Okay, it's usually roll into their attack. Got it. No! Don't summon things. I'm pretty sure that anything that gets summoned, I don't get greed kill bonuses off of. I don't get, well, I probably get stamina restoration. I haven't checked that, but I'm almost certain I would. But I also probably don't get the corruption reduction from them. Awesome. I should also probably be checking more of these. Ooh. Deals critical damage for 2 seconds after a perfect dodge. I do that, though. It's also a way faster attack. So despite dealing less damage per hit, it would probably, if I had to guess, deal significantly more damage in DPS. Damage per second, if you are not familiar. Back from that. There's gotta be enemies over the other side as well. It's usually kind of symmetrical for larger areas like this. No! Almost. Go. Alright. Alright, I feel actually really good about how I dealt with that room. It is worth noting that even though I am playing the Serpent's Temple rather than the Jaguar Temple, I'm still benefiting from having increased resistance, which I think is effectively Focus Home Interactive's way of saying, hey, you might need a little help the first couple times you go through this. Oh, nice. Scorpion Spear. Not better than our current spear, but not super far off because of the plus 1% damage per point of constitution. I've got a decent amount of constitution, but it's just not better than our spear already. Yes, I imagine the increased resistance that you get for the first couple dungeons is effectively a little bit more tutorialization, maybe a little bit of training wheels. We won't have that for all of the runs in this series. Okay, plus 15 against weakened enemies, that's fine. I don't weaken my enemies, and I already have a copy of that anyway. Alright, let's go to the champion. Unfortunately, we did get enough corruption to actually get another curse before the champion. Hopefully it's not bad. Blurred vision. The mind is confused and desires conflicting. The path is veiled and future uncertain. Parts of the map transform into unknown rooms. That's fine. It has absolutely no effect because the map is done. This is the... it's a champion rather than a final boss, but for the dungeon that we're currently running, it will be the final boss. So, no. I got too up close and personal. Okay, so this is definitely a ranged champion, I had to guess. Yep. Okay. So this is going to be about finding opportunities to go in, take a couple swipes, and then get far away so that I can actually dodge abilities like that, because obviously up close and personal, you're not going to be able to. See the health bar there at the top of the screen. Also, you can see the attacks that are hitting me are actually giving us corruption. Whoop. Okay, we got a poison attack off there. Okay, that'll... No. I was about to say, that all worked out well, but I left myself without stamina. And then immediately I took damage because I'd left myself without stamina. So it feels like stamina management is going to be a huge part of this game. Okay, instead of going for finishes, maybe we'll go for some charged attacks here. Actually, that's interesting. The charged attacks... Whoops. The charged attacks appear to destroy the landmines that get left on the ground. Yeah, they do. Oh, okay. Great. That's a good piece of weapon tech to know here. All right, we've got the boss down to half. I mean, I could be firing range shots constantly, but even if I perfect them, they're just not going to match the damage of this spear right now. Okay. Closer again. Hey, we even tagged you with poison. No, 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 no. Why did I roll into that? Okay, so I got staggered a little by the first one, which resulted in me getting hit by all the rest of them. So that's actually a really dangerous attack. The straight up lines of skulls. Go. Going. No, 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 no. Dang it. I keep setting out best practices for myself, and I think when I say them, they're 100% right. I just need to follow them. I need to actually do them. There we go. Ooh. All right. We get a couple more skulls here, which are going to be the meta currency we saw a moment ago. If this was a longer dungeon, we would then be continuing out in this direction to go for another area or another floor. Still don't really know what nomenclature I'm going to be sticking with for that. Victory in the Bewitched Catacombs. 100% progress. Playtime was 21 minutes. Extra damage taken in darkness. Yes, you take extra damage in darkness as well. I have 197 of that. Highest damage dealt in a single hit was 100 for us. We only perfected one room. Took 0 damage in one room. Oops. We'll be looking to increase that number. Gold collected and crystal skulls collected. Great. And then, to round out the episode, hey, we actually have a second blessing slot now. Great. To round out the episode, we'll have a look at some of the blessings that we can pick up here. So the first ones that's available to us is Tamrock's Breath. Whenever an enemy is set on fire, he has a 50% chance to be weakened for a short duration. No effect on champions or bosses. We also have Indomitable. While you're attacking, you take 20% less damage, and damage does not interrupt you. That seems very, very important for me. We'll have a look at the rest of these as well. Brutal Temper. If I want to save my skulls, I could get this. Killing multiple enemies within 1 second window activates Fury. Deal 50% more damage for 6 seconds. That's actually, I would really like that as well. These are very, very large in how they modify you actually playing. Fire illuminates further. All damage taken is reduced by 20% while in the light. Yeah, these are really instructive rather than just being like small different modifiers like, oh, plus 5% damage with fire weapons or something like that. Like, these are actually kind of like run-changingly foundational. Gain Fury, deal 50% more damage for 6 seconds when you take damage. I'm realistic with myself. I understand that this is probably actually going to be ridiculously valuable for me right now, so I'll probably end up taking it. We also have Tamrock's Bones. Tamok's Bones. Gain 5 Constitution at the start of your exploration. Okay, so that's more max HP. These ones are currently locked until I complete a medium or long exploration, so I'm actually not really going to read through them just yet, leaving them for myself to discover later. Obviously, they're on the screen for a moment, so if you want to see them, they're there. Clever Kills. Blessing Eagle. Traps deal 100% more damage to enemies. I don't think that would be super useful for me. I don't usually positionally play my enemies as much as that seems like it would want me to do. Eagle's Fascination. While the agreed timer is active, your damage increases by 2% per kill up to 100%. You can get a greed timer of 50? Okay. 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 Storm's Focus. Successful parries fully restore your stamina. There's also the Guts of Agility. A perfect dodge triggers haste. Increase movement speed for 5 seconds. Then Blessing of Sishal. Gain 1,000 gold rather at the start of your expedition. Exploration. And also the Will of Sishal. Your corruption threshold increases from 100 to 120 at the start of your exploration. And finally, Sishal's Trove. Blood Fountains also grant 300 gold per charge consumed. I am going to get Indomitable and Furious Skin really quickly. I'll start out with Indomitable, and I'll be able to get Furious Skin very, very quickly, because it's only 2 more Crystal Skulls I have to pick up in order to do so. For the moment, though, my name has been Rhapsody. The name of the game has been Curse of the Dead Gods. Again, Curse of the Dead Gods is an action roguelike from Focus Home Interactive. It is available on Steam at the link in the description down below, and is 20% off until July 9th. We are currently going through the Serpent's Temple. Hopefully you've been enjoying yourselves. There's also a playlist in the description down below with all of my content on this game, present and future. And hopefully we'll see you next time.